the Nutrition English Lab.
Hello, everyone. It's really nice to see you again at the Nutrition English Lab, the channel where we build your scientific English, one concept at a time. I'm Isabella, a clinical dietitian and nutrition researcher, and today's episode is one I've wanted to record for a very long time. Today, we're going to talk about how to read a scientific article in English, not just survive it, but actually understand it, extract what matters, and feel confident doing it. Because this is such a broad topic, it will be divided into 3 episodes. This first episode will focus on the main structure of a scientific paper. If you've ever opened a research paper, read the title, and thought, okay, this is going to take me the entire afternoon, this is for you. If you've ever highlighted every sentence in the abstract because you weren't sure which parts were important, this is for you. And if you've ever closed a paper feeling more confused than when you opened it, this is absolutely for you. By the end of today, you'll know the structure of every scientific article in our field. You'll have a 4-step reading strategy that saves you time and improves your comprehension. And you'll understand the key English vocabulary and sentence patterns that appear in every paper you read. In the description of this video, you'll also find a reference document with common phrases used in health and nutrition scientific articles, which you can download easily. Let's get started. Before we talk about how to read, we need to talk about what we are reading. Every peer-reviewed scientific article in nutrition, dietetics, and healthcare follows the same structure. It has a name, and it is an acronym you should memorize. IMRAD. Let me say that again. IMRAD. And I want you to write this down if you can, because this is the foundation of everything else we talk about today. IMRAD stands for Introduction, Methods, Results, and Discussion. Most papers also have an abstract at the very beginning, before the introduction. So the full structure is abstract, introduction, methods, results, discussion. 5 parts. Every time. Whether it's a randomized controlled trial, a systematic review, a cohort study, or a cross-sectional study, the IMRAD structure is there. Now let me walk you through each one. I want you to understand not just what each section contains, but what question it is answering. Because each part of a scientific paper is answering a specific question. And if you know the question, you know what to look for. Part 1 of the article, and I say part 1 of the article, not part 1 of today's episode, so don't get confused. Part 1 of the article is the abstract. The abstract is a short summary of the entire paper, usually between 150 and 300 words. It appears at the very top, before everything else. The question the abstract answers is, what is this paper about? And what did it find? A good abstract tells you 4 things: why the study was done, how it was done, what the main results were, and what the authors concluded. Think of the abstract as the trailer of a film. It gives you the highlights before you watch the whole thing. The key English phrases you'll hear in every abstract: the aim of this study was to, that tells you the objective. A randomized controlled trial was conducted. That tells you the design. Results showed that, or we found that. That tells you the outcome. And these findings suggest that, or we conclude that, that tells you the interpretation. Abstract done. Part 2, the introduction. The question the introduction answers is, why was this study necessary? The introduction builds a case. It usually has 3 movements. First, it describes what is already known about the topic, the background. Second, it identifies what is not known, the evidence gap. And third, usually in the very last sentence of the introduction, it states the specific research question or hypothesis of this study. That last sentence of the introduction is one of the most important sentences in the entire paper. It tells you exactly what the authors set out to prove or disprove. Look for phrases like, the present study therefore aimed to investigate, or we hypothesized that. When you find that sentence, Underline it, circle it, write it on a sticky note. That is your compass for reading the rest of the paper. The English phrases that signal the evidence gap, the second movement, are despite growing evidence. However, little is known about. To our knowledge, no previous study has. The evidence remains limited and inconsistent. These phrases are the author saying, here is the hole in the science that our study fills.
Part 3. Methods. The question methods answers is, how exactly was this study done? This is the technical engine room of the paper. It contains the study design, who the participants were, including how they were recruited and what the inclusion and exclusion criteria were, what intervention was given or what exposures were measured, how dietary intake was assessed, and what statistical methods were used. For nutrition professionals, the methods section is where you assess reliability. The critical questions are, was the sample size large enough? Were the dietary assessment tools validated? Was the study blinded? How long was the intervention? Were appropriate confounders controlled for? Key English phrases in methods. Participants were randomly assigned to. Dietary intake was assessed using a validated food frequency questionnaire. Exclusion criteria included all participants provided written informed consent. Statistical analyses were performed using SPSS version. A power calculation indicated that a sample size of X was required. Part 4. Results. The question results answers is, what did the study find? Results contains the data, tables, figures, statistical outcomes. And here is a crucial point for listeners. The results section does not interpret the data. It only presents it. The interpretation comes later in the discussion. This distinction matters because good critical reading means you look at the results and form your own interpretation before you read what the authors think it means. Key phrases in results. Table 1 shows the baseline characteristics of participants. A significant difference was observed between groups for no significant association was found for. After adjusting for potential confounders, the association remained significant. And the statistical language. P-value, confidence interval, mean difference, hazard ratio, odds ratio. Don't worry, we will come back to all of these. Part 5. Discussion. The question discussion answers is, what does it mean? The discussion is where the authors interpret their results, compare their findings to previous studies, acknowledge the limitations of their work, and suggest implications for clinical practice or future research. The first paragraph of the discussion is typically the most important. It usually states the main finding of the study in clear language. After the first paragraph, the discussion becomes increasingly contextual. Our findings are consistent with, or in contrast to the study by. The limitations paragraph, always near the end of the discussion, is where the authors are most honest. They tell you what could have gone wrong, what the study could not control for, and what caution is needed when interpreting the results. Read this carefully. It is a gift. Key phrases in discussion. These findings are consistent with previous reports. In contrast to our hypothesis, we found a key limitation of this study is these results have important implications for clinical practice. Future studies should examine. We've covered a lot of ground today, and I want to close by giving you something very specific to do before the next episode. I'm Isabella. Thank you for spending your study time with the Nutrition English Lab. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so we can keep growing as a community. Every paper you work through makes the next one easier. Every word you learn in context stays with you longer than any flashcard. You're building something real here. One episode, one paper, one word at a time. I'll see you in the next episode.
The Nutrition English Lab.